Sambudavanaka and good morning, colleagues and friends. Our last time together as a community of practice was in November 2019 at what was the 19th Maritime Boundaries Working Session. And for a team like this one that has met as colleagues and friends year on year without fail for so long, that's a long time. In some ways, it feels like the world has become a different place over that time. The global pandemic has certainly changed all of our work dramatically. We understand for many of you, national responsibilities have multiplied alongside international engagements and virtual meetings in the middle of the night. We are all zoomed out, there is no doubt, and yet here you are today, and for that I thank each and every one of you. Your presence here today is a reflection of what hasn't changed over the last 2 years. Your dedication to this critical work, your commitment to this ongoing community practice, and your support to fulfilling our leaders' vision of securing the Blue Pacific for generations to come. Pacific Island countries, together with Australia and New Zealand, are the custodians of 30% of global exclusive economic zones, comprising more than 42 million square kilometres of ocean space. You know better than anyone that to secure and optimise the management, use and conservation of the Blue Pacific, countries require certainty over their maritime zones. You also know, as does everyone who's been involved in this work over the past 20 years, the process of delimiting, negotiating and declaring maritime limits and zones is not always easy or straightforward. It can be technically dense and politically challenging. Where there have been successes, it's been largely due to the persistence of national champions who have picked up and driven the work. Many of those champions are here in this virtual room. And increasingly, those successes, your successes, are gaining recognition not only on the regional stage, but on the global stage. Priority action to implement UNCLOS and settle maritime zone limits is recognised internationally in SDG Target 14.C and is echoed in numerous regional statements, including Priority 1 of the Framework for a Pacific Oceanscape. As a region, our region, the Pacific, is a world leader in the percentage of maritime boundaries concluded. And last month, the Pacific Island Forum leaders issued the landmark Declaration on Preserving Maritime Zones in the Face of Climate Change-related Sea Level Rise, which is now gaining traction at the United Nations General Assembly. Years from now, your successes will point at the significance of this moment and this normative declaration for the Pacific Islands. It's one we can all be proud to bear witness to and to have contributed toward. But our next steps are equally critical. So whether you've been attending meetings like these for years, or whether you are joining this conversation for the first time today, I ask you to consider what will your legacy and your contribution to this work be? Will you be one of those national champions who picked up and drove this work, who helped define your country and your region? Because we still have significant work to accomplish before we can consider our Blue Pacific boundaries secure. The declaration specifies Pacific Island leaders' intentions to maintain their maritime zones only after they are established in accordance with the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. But a number of countries have not yet established their maritime zones. There are 48 shared or overlapping boundaries between countries in the Pacific Islands region. Of these, 35 have been successfully negotiated, but 13 remain to be agreed and signed. 5 countries have yet to establish their EEZ high seas limits, and others are reviewing or updating existing legislation, baselines, and maritime zone limits. The 16 extended continental shelf claims across our region awaiting review by the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf are critical gaps in our Blue Pacific continent. Securing these areas and their resources will be critical in the years ahead. It's encouraging to see the increased attention to ocean governance by development partners, but even more so at the national level, where we now see 7 PICs have developed or are currently developing oceans policies. These will also no doubt be guided by maritime zones and limits. While there is much to celebrate, now is not the time to sit back and relax, but to roll up our sleeves and finish the job. There will be a great opportunity to do this over the next 6 weeks of this virtual working session. SPC and SOPAC before it has been a key technical partner supporting your Pacific Island countries to delimit and deposit their maritime boundaries with the UN Division of Ocean Affairs and the Law of the Sea since 2001. In collaboration with a consortium of partners and with the support from a range of donors, the Pacific Maritime Boundaries Program is in a better position than ever to support your countries to complete this work. Please do not hesitate to reach out to my team, who'll be with you over the next few weeks, with questions or requests to this end. At SPC, this work is being supported by our technical teams, including the Maritime Boundaries team, many of you know very well, and also by the Pacific Community Centre for Ocean Science, or PCOS, which brings together expertise from across SPC's technical divisions and across the region in support of ocean science for sustainable development. In closing, I'd like to recognise those of you in the broader team who are here with us. Without you, this work simply would not be possible. From the consortium of partners across the Pacific agencies, including PIFS, the Pacific Island Forum Secretariat, OPOC, the Office of the Pacific Ocean Commissioner, and FFA, the Foreign Fisheries Agency, to our regional experts and my old colleagues and friends at Geoscience Australia, the University of Sydney, Commonwealth Secretariat, and GRID Arundel. And finally, and definitely not least, the donors, including the Government of Australia, the Government of New Zealand, the Government of Papua New Guinea, the UK Government through the British High Commission in Suva, and the European Union and Sweden through the Pacific European Union Programme. We are just so very grateful for your support. Your gifts and energies make this regional priority effort possible. Finally, I want to wish you all the very best over the course of the next 2 days of meetings and the next 6 weeks concentrated effort to progress outstanding work on securing our region's maritime zones and limits. And I look forward to joining you again in mid-November to hear the outcomes and lessons of your journey. Have a good day.